Hamilton, Caledon, Ajax, Oshawa. 4 municipalities trying to ease congestion and improve transit and transportation links. Problem is, there are very few existing revenue tools to do that, and raising taxes is a tough sell for anyone. What's a mayor to do? Let's find out. Joining us now, Bob Ratina, he's the mayor of the city of Hamilton. Marilyn Morrison, mayor of the town of Caledon. Steve Parrish, mayor of the town of Ajax. And John Henry, mayor of the city of Oshawa. And we want to remind you that you can send us your thoughts on getting the GTHA moving again. Go on Twitter, use the hashtag AgendaTVO. Mayors, your worships, thanks for coming in tonight. Good to have you all here at TVO. I guess I should hold this up. One of the reasons that we are all gathered here today is the group Civic Action had its forum down at the Exhibition Place today. It's called Our Region, Our Move. And we've got the four of you in because at the end of the day, I guess you're all going to be called upon to make various decisions of varying degrees of popularity to see if any of this is going to work. But let's start with this. Everybody knows traffic is miserable in Toronto. Is it also in Hamilton?
No. Toronto is a completely different situation from Hamilton. We like to call ourselves a 20-minute city. You can get anywhere in 20 minutes. On a bad day, you're going to bump into stuff. But congestion is not our issue, and the Metrolinx plan for Hamilton has an LRT, but it's not designed for congestion. It's designed for transit-oriented development. In other words, put it in and good things will happen around it. So we're different. It's a good discussion.
It's a good discussion, but you're not completely sold, it sounds like.
Well, what I would say, Steve, is that we do have from Metrolinx the expanded GO service. So it'll be a new station, James Street North, all-day two-way GO service, and a possible extension down to Stony Creek. And those will certainly affect, in a positive way, congestion. But the LRT is a different story. And so, but our council has put forward a plan which includes that LRT. And now we're waiting to see the devil that is in the details.
That's where it always is. Marilyn Morrison, you don't have traffic congestion in Caledon, do you?
We do have some. And we have it on Highway 50 through Bolton, and we have it on Highway 10. And the reason we have that is because of all the leapfrogging. In other words, when the province of Ontario came out with their places to grow, and they have the Greenbelt, and the town of Caledon has Greenbelt, Oak Ridges Moraine, and Niagara Escarpment. We have all three, which we take seriously and try to protect. Developers saw that they have limited areas to develop, so therefore they've gone north of the Greenbelt and they're building subdivisions galore, and it's all driving down through our municipality. So the 410 was finished a few years ago onto Highway 10, and this morning I came out at 10 to 7, got onto Highway 10 from the village I live in, and by the time I got down to the 410, it was almost stop and go. Stop and go all the way into the city, and an hour and 45 minutes to get to the exhibition grounds, which when it's not rush hour traffic, takes me 40 minutes.
And how long today?
An hour and 45.
Ouch. Okay. Mayor John Henry, Oshawa.
Well, for Oshawa as part of Durham Region as a gateway to the GTA, we have problems every day. You know, people drive through Oshawa, they're coming from Port Hope, Cobourg, City of Kawartha Lakes, Peterborough, Lindsay, and they come down to either get to the GO station or drive into Toronto, and on a good day, the traffic starts to back up in Whippy. On a bad rainy or snowy day, the traffic will start to back up at Harmony Road in Oshawa. It's a real issue for us in the morning, and it's a real issue to the economy, because when people are stuck going to work, so is the movement of goods, and that's a big problem for us.
You're not far away in Ajax, Steve Parrish. How does it work where you are?
Well, if you take Oshawa as being bad, and I agree with John, Ajax is worse because we're closer to the city, and the traffic's already backed up by the time it gets to Ajax, and we're serviced by the 401 and the GO station and the GO system, but still we have gridlock and we have very long commutes, and it's a problem for our citizens. They're losing 1, 2, 3 hours out of their day away from their family. As John says, it's affecting the economic viability of our region. Moving of goods as well as people is really a problem, and it needs to be fixed.
So let's just establish for the record, do you all sign on to the big move as the solution to the problems you've just outlined? Steve Parrish.
Well, I think you have to say we have a problem, yes, and you have to say I'm content with gridlock and therefore I won't pay to fix it, or we need to fix it and therefore we have to find new revenues to solve it. Now, I'm in the latter camp. I think we have a problem. We have to have new revenues to solve it. It's a matter of deciding how we do that, how we communicate that, and how we get the public on board to say, yep, this is the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, they're the people who are going to pay and benefit.
John Henry, are you signing on to the big move?
I sign on to the principle of the big move, and we're supportive, and like Steve said, finding a new revenue tool to do it. But the other part is we got to get the message out to the public what the cost will be if we don't do it. Where will we be 5-10 years from now if you look at the growth that's going to happen in Southern Ontario? And this isn't just about a local issue. This is about the economy of a province and the ability to compete on the world stage. And we've recognized the issue. Now we have to find a way to fix it. But to continue going down the road of doing nothing, or where we are today, is no longer acceptable.
Marilyn Morrison?
I agree. I think that we do have to do something, and the devil's in the detail, though. And I would sign on the principle that something has to be done, and we have to move forward. We can't stagnate the way we are stagnating now.
We should just point out that is not a typo, because I know everybody's going to write in tonight and say you spelled her name wrong.
Oh.
But we are actually spelling your name correctly.
Yes, you are.
M-A-R-O,
Yes,
right?
you are.
L-Y-N.
You are.
Just wanted to establish
Okay.
that for the record.
I just want to say
Sure, go
that
ahead.
for my municipality, unlike the other three, we don't have any service. We have a bus that goes to Bolton, and we have a bus that goes from Orangeville down Highway 10. Other than that, we have no service. So it's a little harder sell in my municipality that has 64,000 people right now, but eventually we'll have 500,000 people. But it'll all be in 20% of the area mass of my municipality. So I'm very interested in what is brought forward and hoping to have some input into how to serve the rural area and how to fund it.
Did I just hear you say your municipality is going to be almost 10 times bigger than it is right now?
Mm-hmm. The province of Ontario put 28,000 acres of Caledon in future growth. And with the densities that they mandate you have to have, our population will be between 500,000 and 750,000.
So you are going to need more infrastructure.
Oh,
no question
definitely.
about it. Okay, what about Hamilton?
Well,
are you signing
Hamilton-
on to the big move?
I agree with my colleagues. The principle is terrific. I've asked our Director of Finance, and he is bringing forward a breakdown, a report on the implications. One of the things we have to be concerned about is our credit rating and how much money will go into the project. We also don't want to put ourselves at a competitive disadvantage by being more costly to have gas stations and shopping centers. If there is a competitive disadvantage, people will tend to migrate to the cheaper areas. But the one number that had come forward today is quite interesting, and that was from Denzel Wong for the City of Toronto. And the Ontario Health Premium is a $900 premium that generates about $3 billion a year for the province. Mm-hmm. So $3 billion is a little more than $2 billion. Mr. Wong suggested that it was going to be about $900 per household per year for the next foreseeable future. And I think the public needs to know that.
Well, that's a guess. Obviously, if you don't use the roads as much, you'll pay less. If you use it more, the theory is you'll pay more.
True. But once again, it's difficult for Hamilton because in the city there's no congestion. As soon as we hit, if you're going to Peel or Mississauga or Toronto to go to work, we had a long drive in this morning to go to the program. And many Hamiltonians do find themselves in that congestion, and yes, let's fix it. But others don't. And then we have another disadvantage in Hamilton, which is affordability. Our city, because of the level of income, people pay more on the percentage of their household income to pay their taxes than other cities. And it's regrettable, and we're fixing that. But how do you tell someone who has low affordability that we're going to increase it for something that may not occur for 5, 10, 15 years in terms of priorities?
The Mayor of Hamilton, in my hearing, has not signed on to these new tools yet. Do you want to try selling him on it?
Well, we all agree that there's a problem. And I can understand the difficulty in selling it to your community. And I understand that. But you're right on some parts, too, is that, Oshawa is a very high tax city compared to the City of Toronto. That the residents where we are, not only are we funding our hospitals, as well as our university and colleges, You know, we do pay substantially more. You have a $300,000 home in Toronto, it's $2,000 a year or thereabouts, and if you have a $300,000 home in Oshawa, you're paying over $4,000
in property tax.
In property taxes. So it has to be fair and equitable as well. You know, when you go downtown today, not all the problems in downtown Toronto are caused by residents from the 905.
So, Steve Parrish, what I'm hearing here, and you tell me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing here is, in general, everybody recognizes the need to do this plan, recognizes the need for new revenue to make this plan happen, thinks this is going to be an almost impossible sell to the public.
I don't think it's an almost impossible sell, but I think the difficulty of the sell will vary throughout the region. Marilyn's talked about virtually no transit in Caledon. In North Durham, there's virtually no transit. So that's a tough sell in places where you're raising significant revenue, really to improve public transit. But in places like my municipality and in the urbanized areas surrounding the city of Toronto, many of the municipalities, like, you know, Vaughan and Markham and Richmond Hill, et cetera, in York, and the Mississauga Bramptons in Peel, and Ajax Pickering and Whitby Oshawa in Durham, I think that people in that inner ring, if I can call it that, get it, and it's going to be an easier sell there. But as you get more remote, and as the Mayor of Hamilton says, as you get out to Hamilton, it might not be the same type of equation, and the sale might be more difficult. It may be getting closer to impossible.
Okay, well, Mayor Morrison, in the interest of fairness, let me lay the whole thing out here, which is, we saw at the Civic Action Forum today public opinion polling which suggests the public wants more infrastructure improvements. They understand it will cost more. They are prepared to pay more. But when you get more specific, do you want to pay an extra toll every time you drive on the 401? Do you want to pay extra money to use an HOV lane? When the when the devil is in the details, how much political capital are you prepared to expend in order to make this happen?
I think that you can't be parochial. I think that you have to be able to look at the region, and I don't mean the region of Peel or the region of Durham or
the
York.
whole GTHA.
You have to look at the whole GTA, and in Hamilton, it's part of that. I mean, if the whole GTAH is successful and profitable, we're all benefit. You know, everybody benefits. Ontario benefits. So, I mean, I will go on record, and I hope Mayor Bettina doesn't throw something at me here, but I will go on record saying I have a really tough time knowing that in the region of Peel, my taxes go towards GO, which they do because we pay a good portion of it, and I have no GO service, and I'm in the GTA. And then I have a train that goes to Barrie. I don't mean I have one, but GO has a train that goes to Guelph, to Kitchener, to Hamilton, talking about Stony Creek. Right. You have to pay for that.
Yes.
You have to figure out a way to pay for that. I'm willing to sell some of these things to my residents and to get them on board because they have to realize that the economic prosperity of the GTAH is dependent on our jobs, our keeping our taxes down, all of that.
Okay, he's not throwing anything at you.
No, he's not. That's good.
I don't disagree. And Hamilton's contribution to the congestion relief would be the expansion of the GO services. And well, the other thing I want to bring forward, though, is that right now Hamilton, which has been considered somewhat of a basket case over the past few years, and we haven't had the population growth and so on, we're in a real renaissance. Our unemployment rate is at 6% compared to 7.8 average. Wow. We just did $1.5 billion in building permits. Right across from City Hall, we've got about $200 million of a new MAC, Faculty of Family Medicine, a hotel, 2 condos.
New football stadium coming too, I hear.
Brand new stadium now being built. And so the issue is that we need to be aware of the sensitivity of finances, of investment, of money that needs to be looked on as an investment to grow jobs and economy. Because quite frankly, I wouldn't put transit as the priority. I would put jobs and economy as the priority, with transit as a foundational piece of that.
I think the Premier would say you don't get to the jobs and economic improvements without better infrastructure, transit, transportation, and so on.
We have an issue about transit and transportation. All I'm saying is, and I think the public needs to be confronted with the issue. And in the United States, when cities are doing LRTs, they go to referendum, they put it on the ballot, and they say, do you want to extend the Virginia Beach LRT another 10 miles, and will you pay 0.5% increase in your sales tax?
Do we need to do that here?
79% of the American cities that have done that in the last 10 years, they've said yes. So I don't think you should discount the public's willingness to engage in this. But I'm nervous about moving past that and saying, here's what we're doing, and I hope you like it.
John Henry, do we need a referendum on this in order to really get the public on board?
Well, to get the public on side, it would be interesting. But for us here, too, we have the other problem. Because transit's only one part, and we suffer with congestion. But we have the end of the pipe scenario. We have the aging infrastructure within our communities. We've got the life cycle of our buildings that need to be maintained and our roads. There's a bigger issue than just transit here, too. Well, transit's a problem. We've got all these other issues that we as mayors of municipalities have to deal with.
Okay, I hear you. But on his issue of the referendum, are you for that?
You know what? I would support that as a question, sure.
Steve Parrish, yes to a referendum?
I don't think you're going to need one, because I think you're going to have a referendum called the provincial election, and I think you've got a Premier Wynne who today, you were there, said very clearly, I want to be the champion of this. I believe in this. I believe we need to do this, and I'm prepared to do what's necessary. And you've got the leader of the opposition, Mr. Hudak, saying no taxes, and you've got the leader of the NDP saying no taxes. So, and Premier Wynne has said, you want to have an election over this issue? Let's do it. So you know what, before we get to a referendum, I think you might have a provincial election where in the greater GTA and Hamilton, Greater Golden Horseshoe, this will be a central election issue, and the people will decide. And the people will vote for Mr. Hudak's party because they don't want taxes, or they're going to vote for Premier Wynne and her party because they do. I think that's the nearest referendum we're going to have.
Referendum?
I would say that it has to be bigger than the GTHA or HA. It has to go outside of that, because there is no way that you can have increased fuel taxes just in the GTHA and sales tax just in the GTHA. I think it will harm our businesses. It'll harm everyone. And then what happens to all those people who don't live in that area and are driving through? They would not pay anything, and I think we'd see a problem.
I take your point completely, and what I had thought was that you needed to put a sales tax right across the province, because every community, whether it's St. Thomas or Thunder Bay, they've got infrastructure issues. But if you circle a certain group of communities and say there will be a tax imposed there but not there, it doesn't really make sense, and I'm not sure how you do that, quite frankly.
So is an uptick in the harmonized sales tax, you think, makes sense?
Everybody has infrastructure issues, and if we want to dedicate them, the other thing too is that we need to know in our individual communities that the money that we're putting in is coming back in some form and in some timely manner to our communities, because we don't know that.
And I think on the harmonized sales tax as well, I think, if you'll remember, when Mr. Harper and his government said, we're cutting, as it was then, the GST, and province, if you want to use that tax room for provincial infrastructure, occupy it. And I would quite frankly say, thank you, Mr. Harper. We will occupy 1 cent of that, 2 cents, and we will use that tax room province-wide, and the places outside of the Greater Golden Horseshoe, they'll get the money back too. They won't use it on transit maybe, but they'll use it on roads and bridges and the other things that will work in their communities.
John Henry, you heard in the first segment, we heard, I don't know, I think it was 11 ideas for raising revenue for Metrolinx and 4 from the Toronto Region Board of Trade. What are the top 3 on your list?
Well, as the Mayor of Parrish was saying, going across the province and utilizing a sales tax, but it has to go across the province. Regionalizing it doesn't work. In fact, Durham Region's already at a disadvantage. We're one of the few municipalities in Ontario that's not allowed to apply for economic development funds. And that's a story for another day, but we are already at a disadvantage, our business community. If you look at a gas tax across the province, it makes sense. I was happy to hear the Premier say today that it wouldn't be on the backs of the residential taxpayer.
So no property tax increase?
No property taxes, and when Premier Wynne said that today, it took a weight off my back. realizing how important is the municipal tax base is to our local municipalities.
How about parking? Your people sometimes, right? They drive in, they park at a parking lot north of Toronto, and then maybe take the TTC into work. How about an extra $1 a day to park to do that?
If you're talking about parking in Metrolinx parking lots and GO parking lots, that's fine. That's part of the business. But if you're talking about taxing parking lots in communities, I can think of no other way to destroy a business. For the Oshawa Shopping Centre, you'd be upwards of, as a quick guess, $11 million a year of extra expenses related to parking. That makes that uncompetitive. It makes it harder for the people that want to have businesses there to do that.
Okay, what's on your list of revenue tools that you like?
Well, I agree on sales tax. I agree on fuel tax, but it has to be dedicated and it has to be transparent, because the people aren't dumb. They're saying, like, okay, you said it before, the fuel tax was going to go to roads and transit, and it hasn't. It's gone into general revenue and it disappears. So it's got to be clearly dedicated for improvements, and people have to see them right away. As the money's coming out of their pocket, they have to go, wow. And so I agree with those two. I do think on the local level, I mean, these first two taxes, fuel and sales, are going to be raised by the province. And I think you made the point today. It's really easy to be politically courageous when somebody else is raising the taxes. But I think the third tax that we have control of, if we're given provincial authority, is development charges, especially in the areas outside of Toronto.
Would you do that?
Yes.
You would?
And especially the areas of development charges on transit and cycling, active transportation, are based on 10-year averages, the past. When you're aspiring for a better level, basing the funding from development charges on history of 10 years ago. So if the province simply took that 10-year average requirement out of it, we could raise more money for transit and cycling in our local areas, put it right in there, matching the other funds coming from the province.
Let me find out from Caledon. You're going to be doing a lot of developing in the next decade.
We are.
You want to put an uptick in the development charges to help pay?
Yes, I certainly do.
You'd be open to that?
I honestly believe that growth should pay for growth. And so if we're going to have light rail, which I hope we will have across the Peel Plain at some point, when this new GTA West Economic Corridor comes in, I think that the growth should pay for it.
We got a minute left here. I want to put this to Bob Bertina. How do you, in a week where we find out that taxpayers are going to be paying a $275 million bill for a political decision to move a power plant out of Mississauga so that the Liberals could win the election, how do you convince people that, yes, we need new revenue, dedicated streams, and trust us, it'll all go for transportation?
It's a hard sell. And I haven't got the answer for you right now, Steve. But I do think that in view of things that have happened today and over the past several months, that the public is more engaged and thinking more seriously about this. But we're not there yet, and I'm very nervous about the near future, because to suggest that we're now in the plan, and thank you for coming today, mayors, because you've got to go tell your people that they're in for an $800 or $900 a year increase in their costs. Even if it's development charges, you buy a new house, you're going to pay the development charge. So it all comes down to that person. And they'd better know what's the real impact is for their families before we tell them they've got to pay it.
And that's the last word today. I always think it's appropriate that the mayor of Hamilton gets the last word. It's just me. It's just me. Bob Bertina, the mayor of Hamilton, may I also say, the former voice of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Great to finally get you in this studio. Thanks. Marilyn Morrison, the mayor of the town of Caledon. Steve Parrish, the mayor of Ajax. John Henry, the mayor of Oshawa.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.